Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going on what I like to call a data-driven rescue mission. Seriously, every single day, millions of dollars in ad spend just evaporate, gone. Why? Because brands are optimizing for the absolute wrong metrics. So we're going to fundamentally change how you look at your ad accounts. And more importantly, we're going to save your profit margins from the silent killer of modern advertising, which is vanity metrics. We're breaking down the absolutely critical shift from surface-level data to your actual bottom-line reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's the big question, right? Every marketer, founder, and media buyer nervously asks themselves this when they open their dashboard first thing in the morning. Does a high click-through rate mean your ad is actually working? For years, the industry has trained us to chase the click, to optimize for that percentage, and to break out the champagne when it spikes. But today, we are going to completely debunk that massive industry myth.
Section 1. The click-through rate myth. Time to rethink your reports.
There's this saying in the industry that really gets straight to the heart of this. CTR measures curiosity, not intent. Think about that for a second. Someone clicking on an ad just to see what it is, and then leaving literally 3 seconds later, well, that gets counted. Maybe they fell victim to the classic fat finger syndrome while scrolling on their phone and just accidentally tapped their screen. The ad platform's algorithm? It doesn't care. It doesn't differentiate that accidental or fleeting click from a highly motivated buyer who clicks, browses, and ultimately buys something. The platform just tallies it up as a success, feeding you a data point that's entirely stripped of context and actual human intent. Imagine this classic scenario. You pull a performance report at the end of the week and you see a 4% CTR. High fives all around in the Slack channel, right? It looks absolutely amazing. But when you look at the conversions for that exact same ad, you see a dismal 0.3% conversion rate. This isn't a strong ad. What we actually have here is a misleading headline, or maybe some clever clickbait attached to a completely weak offer. The audience felt tricked, so they bounced immediately. And this is exactly the dynamic that gets completely buried when all you're doing is looking at surface-level CTR. Bad, money-burning ads get hidden behind pretty, vanity numbers.
Section 2. Curiosity versus buyer intent. Let's look at what CTR really tells us.
The reality here is actually surprisingly simple. A high CTR really just measures one thing, and one thing only: traffic volume. It tells you that a lot of people were funneled to your landing page. But here's the hard truth. Traffic volume in a lot of cases tells you absolutely nothing about whether those specific people were ever going to open their wallets and actually spend money with your business. It's the exact equivalent of window shoppers walking into a retail mall. Sure, the foot traffic looks incredible from the outside, but if nobody actually walks up to the cash register to buy anything, well, the store still goes out of business. Traffic without conversion is just an expensive vanity project.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that CTR isn't entirely useless. No, it definitely has a place in your toolkit for sure. It's actually a fantastic signal for creative resonance. It clearly shows how well your creative stops the scroll on a wildly busy, noisy social media feed. But, and this is key, it must be viewed strictly as one very early indicator in a much longer chain of events, rather than the ultimate measure of success. It's a measure of stopping power, not profit.
And that brings us to the core danger: treating CTR as a proxy for performance. When you start treating a scroll-stopping metric as the ultimate finish line, you put your business in severe financial danger. Look, ad platforms are essentially massive machine learning engines designed to feed you exactly what you ask for. So if you tell the algorithm to optimize for clicks, it will gladly oblige. It's going to go out and find the cheapest, lowest intent, most historically click-happy users on the internet just to inflate your dashboard numbers and spend your budget. You basically end up optimizing your campaigns to generate cheap, meaningless traffic rather than actual dollars in the bank.
Moving on to Section 3, exposing your empty traffic. Look, if you want to actually measure traffic quality, CTR is functionally meaningless all by itself. You absolutely must pair it with two concrete financial realities: your conversion rate and your true revenue per click. You have to anchor that top-of-funnel curiosity to the bottom-of-funnel cash. True revenue per click is where the rubber meets the road, really. It divides the actual money you get to keep by the amount of traffic you bought, instantly revealing if those clicks are actually worth what you're paying for them. Which leads perfectly to one of the most powerful insights from our source material. One number without the other two frequently tells you just enough to feel informed without actually being so. Let me ask you directly, does your current dashboard make you feel artificially informed? Are you looking at a green arrow next to your CTR feeling like an absolute genius, while the real story of your profitability is being completely hidden from view?
Section 4. The shift to true ROAS. Time for some bottom line reality.
So the crucial point is understanding what true ROAS actually is. It basically means recalculating campaign success based entirely on actual bottom line profitability. We're no longer getting distracted by ads that generate a ton of cheap clicks or look fantastic on an isolated platform dashboard. We are setting a new standard of measurement here. In an e-commerce context, bottom line profitability means accounting for every single dollar it takes to get that product into a customer's hands. It's about landing costs, packaging, shipping, and fulfillment. If your reporting ignores those elements, you're navigating your entire business blindfolded.
To get to that true ROAS, you have to look beneath the surface at this massive iceberg of hidden costs that standard platforms completely ignore, but proactive tools like 7Capture actually track. Let's break down this dynamic. A standard ad platform loves to show you attributed revenue, but reality demands that you deduct your SKU level cost of goods sold. That revenue isn't all profit. The platform also loves to highlight instant sales, pumping up today's numbers, but reality requires you to factor in return rates. Think about apparel brands for a second. Platform dashboards celebrate a massive sale today, but completely ignore the 25% return rate that hits the warehouse on a 30-day lag. And finally, the platform champions gross revenue, but reality takes a major bite out of that through monthly payment processing and platform fees like Shopify or Stripe. If you aren't calculating these deductions, you are living in a financial fantasy. This is the unglamorous math that actually determines if you stay in business.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute shock to the system that happens when you apply those realistic deductions. You could be looking at a campaign boasting a highly profitable 1.8x return on ad spend according to the platform. But once you blend in those cost of goods sold, those 30-day delayed returns, and those processing fees, that exact same campaign drops to a money-losing 0.9x true ROAS. The platform illusion was aggressively telling you to scale your budget. Reality is telling you to pull the plug immediately before you bleed out. Which brings us to Section 5, Stopping the Profit Bleed. Let's talk proactive budget action.
3. That's the magic number. Rather than overwhelming you with endless data soup and dozens of conflicting metrics, 7Capture is designed to avoid decision fatigue entirely. It delivers exactly 3 explicit budget decisions every single Monday. And these decisions aren't based on clicks or traffic volume or vanity metrics. They are based entirely on that true ROAS calculation we just walked through. It cuts through all the noise so you know exactly what actually needs your attention.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual execution workflow that physically stops the financial bleed. Step 1. The system automatically identifies those tricky, deceptive campaigns. The ones driving incredibly high CTR traffic but actively losing money in reality. Step 2 is really where the magic happens. It doesn't just send you an alert and force you to dig through endless menus. It actually prepares the API call to either pause that campaign or shift its budget automatically. This step alone saves hours of manual dashboard manipulation, allowing media buyers to act as high-level strategists rather than exhausted data entry clerks. And finally, Step 3, Assisted Execution. You execute that complex budget maneuver with a single approve click. It seamlessly bridges the gap between seeing the true, painful data and taking immediate, decisive action to fix it.
So we wrap up today with one vital, honestly, pretty provocative question for you to take back to your team. Is your best performing ad, the one with the massive click-through rate, the incredible engagement, and the beautiful dashboard metrics, actually costing you money underneath it all? It's time to audit those weekly reports, step away from the vanity metrics, and finally find out what your true ROAS really is.